Good evening and welcome to the Monday night show. I am Tom, we got Neil, we got Addy. Lads, 4 times on the bounce, we are Carabao Cup winners. How nice is that feeling, boys?
Up the energy drink blues, eh?
You know what? It was funny. I was driving yesterday. I was going to pick up some tiles for a bathroom, and I stopped at some traffic lights and I saw a sign on the right hand side. It said Mr. Whippy, and I thought, oh, that's a good sign. Oh, I need to put some money on him scoring the first goal. I like that. Anyway, I got to the tile shop. I opened my door, and on the floor there's a crushed can of Carabao drink, and I was like, oh, it's all coming to fruition. This is good signs. Needless to say, I didn't put a bet on Ilkay scoring the first goal, but I tell you what, it felt I don't enjoy games like that. I'm an absolute nervous wreck from start to finish of those games, and it's even worse when we are so dominant and have so much possession and so many chances. I can just see Spurs running up the other end and scoring a goal. Neil, what's your thoughts on the game, pal?
Yeah, I think what you said in his post-match conference, Pep said that for a while he was thinking, if we go on to lose this match, I don't know what to say to my players, because we played, I would say, apart from finishing, a near perfect game. We were absolutely dominant in terms of possession, didn't allow them to have any real chances or any real goal threats except that one Lo Celso chance from the edge of the box, which Stefan ended up saving quite easily.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think overall, if we talk about it from a tactical standpoint, I thought we were very adaptable, and it was great to see because so Tottenham came out in a 4-3-3, which was quite narrow. So well, it was quite clear what they wanted to do, which was with their midfield and front line. They simply wanted to block off the center of the pitch and prevent us from playing right through them. So if you'd notice, in the first 5 minutes, Cancelo from left back drifted into midfield in his normal inverted role.
Yeah.
But then around the 6th minute, he stopped doing that. So Gundogan would stay in midfield alongside Fernandinho, and Cancelo went up on the left. Okay, and further, obviously we weren't playing with a striker, so then there were questions whether we'd have Foden as a false nine or if De Bruyne would play as a false nine. But in the end, we didn't end up having a single false nine because we had no players in a central position for most of the match in like the our shape in possession. So which is we usually have a 3-2-5, but this time what we had was a backline of three with Walker, Diaz, and Laporte, then a midfield two with Fernandinho and Gundogan, and then further forward we'd have Mahrez on the extreme right, De Bruyne drifting there as well. Cancelo on the extreme left with Sterling, and Foden would drift out to the left as well. So we just left the central area open with no players there, and what that meant was Tottenham's 4-3-3 was essentially ending up covering nothing. It was just covering open space because we had no players in a central position. So we had like split forwards, and that's how I'd say we were able to create so much because our most of our attacking play was from the wings. And both of our wingers, Sterling and Mahrez, had a great game, I think. And as Tottenham's fullbacks had, well, quite a bad time. Aurier, obviously, he gave away the foul which led to our goal, and Reguilon was also, well, he didn't have a good time against Mahrez, who was absolutely sensational, by the way.
Brilliant.
And
He
yeah,
actually schooled him, didn't he? Rigolon didn't have a clue
oh
as well what
yeah,
to do. It was
Yeah,
brilliant to watch.
Reguilon was, yeah.
yeah. If I could add on, like we went from that 4-2-3-1 into the four, like sort of a lopsided 4-4-2, and
Yeah.
KDB, Mahrez, and Walker would overwhelm Lo Celso and Reguilon on that left or that right
Yeah.
side for us, and that would essentially be able to put in crosses. KDB would be able to get behind the line and push in a pass for a shot, and Mahrez just, I don't know what Reguilon felt. He must have been dead after whatever happened there, but we definitely gave fullbacks a run for their money. And
Yeah.
Oh, and were you? I mean, I was really happily surprised with the team selection. I was
Yeah.
hoping to God we'd play a strong team, and we did. I was so relieved when I saw the lineup. Stefan was the only
Non-starter.
non-proper. I was going to say non-regular, but yeah, I suppose he is non-regular player that we would normally see, and you can understand why because he's the cup goalkeeper now. So I completely get that. But every other of the 10 players in front of him, I'd expect these 10 players to start against PSG. Never mind in a cup final, which some people would have. So there's a lot of people in the press saying that Pep would play a massively weakened team with the PSG coming lined up. And we're going to come on to the PSG game in a bit. This is kind of a 90-10 game. What we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the obviously the final, and about 10% of the chat will be talking about the PSG game. But one thing to add to what you said there, Neil, about the formations and the tactical side of things. The tactical fouling City did was absolutely world class, and I know we probably shouldn't be raving about it, but one thing I noticed is the whole of the City team took it in turns to make those tactical fouls. If it wasn't Fernandinho, it was Gundogan, it was Kevin De Bruyne. Every one of the players took their turns to stifle that possession, and I'm expecting us to see a lot more of that on Wednesday night against PSG.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I done a little map on it after the match. So we did about 6 tactical fouls, I think, and they were distributed among 4 players. So there was 2 by Cancelo, 2 by Laporte, 1 by Diaz, which was not really a foul. I thought he got the ball. The one on Harry Kane where
he definitely got the ball.
I mean, come on, but okay, but fine, we still have to count that. And 1 by Fernandinho, that was really uncharacteristic, because Fernandinho on his first foul he got booked. And usually Fernandinho somehow managed just to milk 3 or 4 fouls at least, because I think which game was that? I think it was Manchester United. I'm not sure, the one we lost. Let's not talk much about it. But there, I think he'd committed 3 or 4 fouls before such tactical fouls before he got booked. 'Cause, most players after they commit a foul, they go shouting at the ref, or they react quite negatively, and that obviously will probably have some impact on the referee's decision of booking them now itself or on the next foul. But Fernandinho is always like a nice guy. He goes up to the ref and then nicely apologizes, and so usually he manages to milk about 3 fouls before getting booked. But this time the ref didn't have it at all. He got him on his first foul. But yeah, as you said, I think the other players distributed quite well. I think Laporte's tactical fouling was the best for me. He got 2 very good fouls on. I think it was Lucas on both cases, which were really important. But yeah, as you said, this we'll have to see much more of it against PSG. And when Pep was bringing on Rodri, I think was it the 80th minute or something, when it was still 0-0. Yeah, but he was lined up like at the 80th minute, right? Because I think he was going to come on, but then we had the set piece, so then he didn't come on. And at that time, I saw many people on the Discord and on Twitter and everything like, "Oh, we're 0-0. Why is he bringing on Rodri?" But these are the sort of tactical decisions that you would have to get right. So on another day when we don't score that free kick, Tottenham still have 10 minutes to go and smash and grab a winner, which was looking quite likely at that point. And at that time, if we had Rodri, who was fresh, instead of Fernandinho on a yellow card on the pitch, we could have stopped 1 or 2 more transition attacks. So for this reason, I think people often, I don't know, fail to understand Pep's substitutions at times. But I think the calls he makes, because I think he's one of the most reserved managers in terms of substitutions. He leaves it quite late, and he rarely ever uses all 3. But the ones he makes, for me, they're usually quite smart ones, even if they're not like the most attractive, or he's not always bringing on star players or attackers all the time. But what he does is always very sensible. So I think he deserves more credit for that.
No, you're pretty spot on. Go for it, Addy. Go for it.
Yeah, I do really think we could have scored more if we had brought on some more players early. Like Sterling kind of disappointed me. I thought he would do really a little bit better. He did get some better things, and I really would have liked to seen like Silva, Jesus, or like Torres in that position more than Sterling because of something recent. But I think we should have scored more. And Tottenham, if you saw that when we were like up front, like countering, they had a really hard time tracking back to get like Reguilon and Aurier would go up the pitch, and Lo Celso was essentially covering behind Reguilon, and then they would just leave Alderweireld and Dier just alone. But still, we weren't like capitalizing on that because of how like the late finishing came in, and we weren't able to capitalize on many golden opportunities for that. I think we could have done better.
Yeah, let's talk about these golden opportunities. Looking at the stats, we had 62% possession. We had 21 shots to Tottenham's 2. Only 4 of our shots were on target compared to 1. 8 corners to 3 and 11 fouls each. Obviously, a lot of tactical fouls from our side. So 21 shots. I mean, when we got to second half, I said to a few family members, I was watching the game with all socially distanced, obviously, that this is the prime example of why we need a 30 goal a year striker. We just seem to be having shots, and we just don't seem to be capitalising on the amount of possession and the shots we're having. I found it really frustrating. But then the argument got put back to me, saying, "Well, we're having the shots. Just because they're not going in doesn't mean we're missing chances." I don't know. How do you two feel about that? Do you feel like if we had that prime Sergio, well, let's face it, prime Sergio starts this game every day of the week.
Easily.
There's no issue there.
Sergio's in his prime. You can't tell me otherwise. He's in his prime at City. He's downright the best striker we've ever had. And I don't want to go into this because we're not talking about it, but he would have started any of the day of the week. And I think Pep needs to, if we're definitely going to get rid of him this summer, and saying openly to the press, we're not going to sign another striker, and then signing some 17-year-old from Brazil as a replacement, that's not even going to start. Maybe even like one day game a month. That's not a great move. You should get someone like Harry Kane. That's something I would say.
Oh,
Harry Kane.
I am not in the Harry Kane fan club.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. That ship sailed Sunday.
It sailed a long time ago.
I wasn't a great fan to start with, just because of his injury record more than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's 28. Let's face it, he knows where the goal is. He does fantastically well for that. I think the only thing Harry Kane's interested in is drawing fouls on other people and throwing like a sack of spuds and getting injured. When he went down to Ruben Diaz's tackle, I thought he'd done his ankle again. He went down that honestly, didn't he?
He catapulted.
He really severely hurt himself, but he got,
and then
just
gets up and
I can't make my mind up, and I just think there's better options than Harry Kane. I think he'll cost too much money for us.
Yeah, I don't think Tottenham will let him go to a direct competitor for any sort of cheap money. And obviously, as you said about the injury record, so I was to be honest, I was never part of the Harry Kane fan club, from our perspective at least. But going back to Pep's comments, I wouldn't really buy into them, because I mean, we know Pep does not always do what he says. There can be mind games, and at the end of the day, though, you have to accept if we want a prime Aguero replacement, which is almost impossible. There's like, I don't know, 1 or 2 strikers in the world who can be considered somewhere close to replacements. In the current market, they would be quite hard to buy. So we have to accept a reality where we might not get that Aguero replacement this summer. So in that case, what we have to ask ourselves is, do we keep playing the way we are? As in, do we keep using false nines and Jesus the odd time? Obviously, we'll have Delap promoted to the first team unless he goes out on loan. But I don't think he can be directly brought in as a regular starter. So then the question is, if we do not get a big money striker like Holland, do we go for a relatively smaller striker? So one striker who's really caught my eye, I don't think many of you might have heard of him, but he's Dusan Vlahovic. So he plays in the Serie A, and he's had a great season so far. So he plays for Fiorentina, and I've seen.
How are you spelling his name? How are you spelling it?
Blahovic, I think. So he scored, I think, 17 goals in 32 league matches this season, if I'm not wrong. So it's a fair tally, and his general movements and his finishing, from what I've seen of him, it's quite impressive.
Brilliant,
So do we go for a person like him, or do we wait for another summer?
That's
Holland
that's the conversation for a different pod. I think it's we could talk all week about potential people to come in and replace Sergio, and we certainly will, and we will have that conversation. But one person who I want to highlight from the point of view from City, and has announced himself. He never really needed to announce himself. It's just Phil Foden. He is the big game player. This game reminded me of the 2020 Cup final where we beat Aston Villa 2-1 last March, just before lockdown. for us in the UK, and he was phenomenal, and he was brilliant, and we're so lucky to have him. We're so lucky to have this talented, brilliant player who not only wants to play for City, he loves City, and he's a City fan. Honestly, the word generational player isn't good enough for what Phil Foden can be for Manchester City Football Club. We are so lucky. What were your two thoughts on Phil yesterday?
I mean,
he definitely played a good game. He definitely played better than I expected him to. Finishing was something he could have improved on, but I think he really did help with our press and getting in between the lines, making stellar passes to the wings and finishing. That was something we should have worked on.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think he did do really well. And like I said, like you said earlier, that's going to be very good for City in the future, especially considering he's just a youngster right now. Imagine what he can do when he's in his prime in like maybe 2-3 years.
I've got a stat here. We call him a youngster. He's played 118. He's made 118 club appearances. Right? Yeah. And he's had 50 goal involvements.
Wow.
29 goals, 21 assists. And of those 118 appearances, only 63 have been started. Oh. The lad's phenomenal. Honestly, we need to clone him if we can.
But just imagine in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be prime Messi, prime Ronaldo. He's going to be Zlatan style, like playing. He'll be up there. He'll be top scorer in the league 2-3 years in a row. Heck, City could win a Champions League if they don't this year. They'll win when he becomes like prime anything.
Very much, and it's unbelievable. I mean, I can wax lyrical about Phil Foden all night, but I'll move on. There's a couple of players that I thought had particularly good games. I mean, from my point of view, obviously Foden. I thought De Bruyne was good. De Bruyne always turns up for games like this. I thought Mahrez was phenomenal. Ruben Diaz. Who was your player of the match, Neil?
So Mahrez was sensational. So I think it's hard to take it away from him. But I'm also torn between De Bruyne, because you have to remember, De Bruyne was coming back from injury, right? This was his first game back after whatever slight injury he had. But he played like he'd been there for, I don't know, the last 6 months non-stop. And not only was he great in possession with his passes, and which is we've come to expect of it, those whipped balls over the defense and those insanely curled crosses and everything. But even his involvement out of possession, like his pressing. So I remember this very distinctly. I think it was in the 42nd minute of the first half, obviously. So Tottenham had a throw like at the edge of their attacking third. Okay, so they went back with it, and De Bruyne pressed the man who received it. Then he went back to the centre back. So De Bruyne continued his sprint, pressed him. Then he went back to the keeper. De Bruyne completed like a 60-yard sprint, closed down Lloris, and forced him to play the ball out. I think this is an attribute of Kevin De Bruyne which is quite easily overlooked, because he is absolutely sensational with the ball at his feet. He's one of the world's best midfielders, but he's one of the world's most complete midfielders as well. And the completion of his game from a defensive perspective as well you have to give a lot of credit to Pep for it, because he's developed him from a defensive perspective so much. And now De Bruyne can play multiple roles. He can play a false 9 role, or he can be your 10, or he can even be an 8, where he can defend properly with what he has learned under Pep. So I think this performance was brilliant, but just overall, if you think about it, he's one of the world's best and most complete midfielders out there. So
I'm so glad he signed the new contract. What about you, Andy? You having De Bruyne down as well?
Yeah, definitely De Bruyne. Like he was playing like he's been like playing for the last 6 months, like Neil said. He definitely went out on that right side, got passes in, definitely helped us a lot. And like Neil said, he's definitely Pep's definitely transformed him. Like most players that have learned under Pep.
Yeah.
Like the pressing, it's like Pep's game plan revolves around getting pressing. Like pressing after you lose possession and just forcing them to play in uncomfortable or unwinnable situations. Like Lloris would have to kick it up in the air, and we get the headers or intercept the ball midair and get it out to our own players. And I think that's definitely something that De Bruyne has really accepted and embraced earlier on, which is why he is such a great player at City. Like compared to like if you saw him at Wolfsburg or was it? Yeah, it was Wolfsburg, I believe.
Yeah,
He was he was more of he was playing higher up,
it was
but
a 10.
he mainly took it out on wings as well, and or either that center line, and it wasn't really like he wasn't helping out with the press. He was dropping back just after the possession loss, allowing them to play it out to their center backs or fullbacks, and I think that's definitely what's transformed him. So yeah.
Phenomenal. We were so lucky. One thing I wanted to talk about as well was how nice was it to have fans in the stadium and listen to the fan noises. It was actually proper fan noises, and you could hear the 2,000 City fans there loving absolutely every minute of it. And the ones I've spoken to that were lucky enough to have gone said it was brilliantly organised, from start to finish with your COVID checks and getting in the stadium. And it took a bit of time to actually get into the stadium, but not too much, because obviously they need to make sure everything's right security-wise.
Yeah.
But it felt to me as if we'd got football back with fans being in the stadium. I don't know what you guys thought of it.
Yeah, I think this win was very important, not just from, like we have a trophy in the back, but the trophy lift with the fans.
Yes.
And all the morale boost and everything we get just before such a big game like PSG, and just in general, after what the terrible year we've had, I think this one was one of the more emotional trophy lifts we've had. Like even in the last year when we won the Carabao Cup, or before that, the second Premier League, which is obviously great, but just having even just the 2,000 fans back, and like as you said, the actual fan noises, like obviously we had those fake noises, but it would always have that amount of delay. Like the ball goes in the back of the net, and the sound guy thinks, oh, it went, so I'll press the button, and it never felt authentic. But here we had actual fans singing, and like when they sung Blue Moon after the trophy, I had goosebumps, man. It was so good to get the fans back.
It's
Amazing.
so nice. It's so nice, and it's just one of those where I can't wait to get back to the actually into the stadium myself and see what it's like. I mean, our fans are a different class, both. Talking about City and well behaved and everything like that. And I thought the fans were brilliant yesterday. They should be absolute credit to themselves. And long may it continue. I hope it can just carry on from that. So we smashed this. Yeah, we seem to have outsung as well. Did you hear in like the 20th minute when Spurs got a corner and all the Spurs fans started cheering? That's the last thing I heard from him. Yeah, it was brilliant. But
speaking of Spurs fans,
go for it.
You heard the cheers from City fans, but I was watching videos. You should have heard the cursing after Laporte's goal. I've never heard cussing more organized than from Spurs fans after that goal.
Oh,
it was glorious. It might not have been great, but it was glorious at that moment.
Well, were they just not happy because he should have been? I've been seeing things about him. Should have had a yellow card and red cards.
That's the stupidest thing. That's a classic case of if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike. Because if he had the yellow card, I mean, if he had the yellow card, there's no way in hell he's committing that foul.
If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike.
Yeah, but I mean, if we are going to argue that way, then Region should have been sent off too, because he committed a very cynical foul on Walker. He got away with it, and then the second foul on De Bruyne, he was booked for the first time. And if you thought Laporte's first foul was a yellow card, which arguably it was, then that was a yellow card too. So then they both should have been sent off. So what happened in the past? It's the butterfly effect, right? Every event will have a repercussion in the future. So if Laporte was booked for the first foul, he doesn't commit that foul, and then I saw Spurs fans saying, oh, but if he doesn't commit that foul, we have a 3-on-2 or whatever. Well, we saw Tottenham had one counter attack, which was I think in the 60th minute or something, when Kane went forward and then he slipped it wide to Højbjerg, and then Region was making an overlap, and then Højbjerg tried to pass it to him, but then he stopped his run and then just went out for a goal kick. So that's what they really did when they had their one chance. So even if they did have a 3-on-2, I don't think it's a guaranteed goal at all. So that is just the stupidest argument I've heard in quite a while.
It's a funny one because I look back and watch the game. I need to watch the game again because I don't enjoy the game when I first watch it. I need to watch it for a second time to really enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And after the game had finished, I actually don't remember feeling much pressure when they came up attacking us. I always felt like our defenders would stop them somewhere on the line. I always felt solid from our defence, and that just rings true with the possession and the stats that are coming out of it.
It's a weird feeling though, because I'm not used to, when I see your side get past the halfway line, my natural instinct is to be scared because
Yeah,
what
I know
if the
what you
centre
mean.
back will bottle it? What will it?
Panic!
Now we have, but now we have Diaz and whoever's with him, Stones, Laporte, was just sensational. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention Laporte was brilliant as well
He was
yesterday.
brilliant. He was
Not
fantastic.
just the goal, not just the tactical fouling, but also how I think Addy mentioned it, right? Tottenham had to go long often. So Laporte's aerial duel success rate and everything, it was brilliant. So, I think he's given himself a fair shout for PSG. I know Stones is probably going to be Stones. Yes, we'll discuss this later. But yeah, I think he's given himself a fair shot with that performance.
Do you know what? I think it's time to discuss PSG because I don't think there's many more superlatives we can give about that City performance. I mean, other than just giving a massive shout out again for Phil Foden for winning his 7th trophy by his 20th birthday or 21st birthday. It's phenomenal. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to the point you mentioned there about Laporte. I think we all secretly know John Stones and Diaz are going to be their centre backs.
Yeah,
I think we all kind of know that, don't we? I think there's.
I think Laporte was only there because Stones got that red card versus Villa, and he deserved it. He deserved that red card. He should not have gone for that tackle. He could have stayed back, stopped it.
Yeah.
But
I feel kind of pissed when they commit stupid fouls like that. It's just if you're gonna like get red carded for that, then and you're gonna miss arguably one of the most important matches that you should ever play. You shouldn't be going for tackles like that. You shouldn't injure someone that'll. It was honestly very, very bad, and it could have hurt him, like career-ending injury.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, defence-wise, let's just have a bit of a discussion about our defence for the game. We're obviously going to see Ederson in there. That's an absolute no-brainer. We're going to see Stones. We're going to see Laporte.
Diaz.
Sorry, Diaz. Sorry, I'm reading something here that I wrote down. It's a massive thing. The question I've got is left back and right back. That's my biggest because I'd have Cancelo and Walker personally. But what does everyone else think of that? Because I'm sure he's going to throw a curveball in somewhere with that.
Yeah, I agree, Walker and Cancelo, but it's possible that this might just be a rotation squad, and Cancelo might be. I'd like to see Ake start, maybe. Okay. He's from injury. Or Mendy, he's definitely been better. And Zinchenko, he's also been. That left back position is really what we're stacked in right now, and it's really just a competition to see who plays where. But I think Cancelo and Walker, essentially, that'll be our back line.
Yeah, I think there's a good shout to put Zinchenko there as well because he likes Zinchenko at the minute, doesn't he? Personally, I'd go for the better footballer, which is Cancelo, all day, every day. Yeah. But there's just part of me thinks there's a massive curveball going to be chucked in there. I don't think Ake is going to see the first.
Nah.
I really can't see that. Okay, well we're pretty solid. We're pretty solid together on our defence, aren't we? Midfield, we're going to see Rodri, aren't we? Rodri and Gundogan.
Yeah,
I don't see Fernandinho playing 2 games in 4 days.
But I think the only case you could make for Fernandinho is that PSG have some serious counter-attacking in transition players like Mbappe and Neymar among others. So I mean, Fernandinho's tactical fouling would be quite handy.
Is Neymar injured?
Then no, Neymar is fine. The question is Mbappe. He went off like I think 2 minutes before the end in their match against Metz. But I saw at that time they were saying that he would be fine for this match, and he didn't fully train today, but he took part in some parts of the training session. So by the looks of things, he will be fine. So even if not 100%, he will be there for sure. So yeah, so getting back to the point, so that's why that is the reason why I would want Walker nailed on, because he's got speed and we need him. And similarly, that's why we might need Fernandinho just to be able to stop them. And then that brings the question, do we play Fernandinho and Rodri? So if we go for a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1, and if we do that, then this will also have repercussions on our defense, because I think we'd all agree if we are having Cancelo, then he would probably play the inverted role, right? But if you have Fernandinho as well as Rodri, you already have your 2 midfielders, and none of them are going to push forward. So that probably does not leave space for Cancelo to move into an inverted role. And for me, if you will have a natural fullback on the left side, it's got to be Zinchenko right now, because as good as Cancelo is, he is right-footed at the end of the day, and there will be a disadvantage there. So for me, my midfield would be Fernandinho and Rodri, and then De Bruyne up in the 10 position.
Really? That's
Yeah,
interesting. What do you think,
I
Abby?
have Gundo. I have Gundo and Rodri because, as you said, it would be hard for Cancelo to come up and be in that inverted role. But Gundo does push up and play in sort of that left side and get up and come down as well,
Yeah.
tracking back. And Rodri, he does go up and flow the passes through to our frontmen, and but he does also stay back and help out with the defense. And Zinchenko, I agree, Zinchenko would be coming and being that sort of attacking fullback, getting crosses into the box and passing it all over. I do, but I think that Rodri and Gundo would be the better combination if we were to play it like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So talk about up front then. Who are we thinking?
So for me, Mahrez has to start. Yeah.
Mahrez.
I think Foden has to start on the left as well. I don't think we have
Yeah,
any questions
Foden
there.
over Sterling. Foden over Sterling.
Easily right
Every
now.
day of the week and twice on a Sunday. As far as,
Yeah.
without a question, Foden over Sterling at the moment.
Yeah, and
Even though Sterling did have a good first half, I thought, against Spurs.
yeah, he was better. He was much improved.
I just get really frustrated watching his final product with Sterling at the moment, and I think I'd rather Foden be there because I think he's just on fire at the minute.
I mean, right now Foden
Yeah.
takes out almost. I think right now the real debate we should be having, if for our best winger, is Foden and Mahrez. Obviously, they'll both start, but
Yeah.
Foden is right now playing at Mahrez levels, so
Yeah.
he's an easy starter. And then, well, centrally, this is a good question. So, do we have a striker or do we have a false nine again? I would go.
I want De Bruyne at that false nine because if you saw that last game where he played that false nine, he played very, very well compared to other players. Like Bernardo Silva, he did play like that, but he just wasn't as effective as KDB in that position. That's why I'd like to see KDB in that sort of central attacking mid position instead of that false nine.
What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, so for me, I've used KDB in my midfield as a 10, so I would go with Bernardo false 9. And we've done this before. So this is something Pep likes to do, especially in big games, which is a double false 9. So you'll have, I think it was it Gladbach, where De Bruyne started as a 10 on paper in the 4-2-3-1, and Bernardo was the false 9. But then if you looked at the average positions at the end of the match, De Bruyne was further ahead than Bernardo Silva. So with Pep, it's always confusing. You try as hard as you might, but you'll never understand it fully. So, but yeah, I think a double false 9 might be the way forward with De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. So that's what I would go for.
Oh, you see, I get the feeling he was going to start Jesus. I don't know why I get this feeling. I just get a feeling that I'm not seeing much of Jesus starting recently. I just get a feeling he's just going to chuck a complete wild card. What I would do and what Pep would do are massively, and what will eventually turn out to be massively different. I get a sneaky suspicion he's going to chuck in one or two wild card games. That's going to wild card substitutions. Wild card formation positionings. Yeah, the starters. Thank you. That are just going to make City Twitter just erupt into what are you doing? It's going to you're doing the Leon again. Stop overthinking things. I don't know.
Yeah, but for me, the reason I see Bernardo starting is simply because he was rested in the final last night. So I mean, both him and Rodri, I think they both are nailed on starters given the fact that they were rested. So then the only question is which 9 of the 11 that started will remain. And obviously Ederson in place of Stefan. So
yeah, I want Ederson in ahead of Stefan.
That's
I think in the Champions League you have to start your best keeper over your young keeper because Ederson's a veteran at that sort of position. He's played that long. He knows what City will do. He knows what to do. And Stefan, he did play a very good game. He almost let a couple of chances in. But other than that, I'd see Ederson over Stefan because he's the better keeper in that right now. It's it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
I was trying to put together, and we've not got time to do this unfortunately, but I wanted to do a combined 11 City PSG just to try and see that, and it's a tough one for me. Which players would you have from PSG to start over City's current full strength squad? Who are the who are the danger men for you? Who are the danger men?
Because you have to nick Mbappe and Neymar.
Yeah.
That I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
I have Neymar, Mbappe in a 4-3-3 from left to right. Neymar, Mbappe, Foden, Gundo, Rodri, De Bruyne, Cancelo, Laporte, Diaz, Walker, then Ederson. Nobody else.
No Verratti in there.
Yeah, but that's the one I was going to talk about. Verratti, for me, Verratti is absolutely he's a great player. I think he's often overlooked because of the fact that he doesn't play in the most mainstream of leagues, and you don't generally watch him. Most football fans don't generally watch Liga matches, but watching him from what I've seen, and even in the Champions League, I think was it Barcelona? I think so. Yeah, he was absolutely sensational. So yeah, he's one to watch. I think will be the key for us. As in, if we will be able to contain him, we will be able to stop PSG's threat in possession. Obviously, transition is a different question. But if we can keep him under check, then I don't think PSG, because he's like the Rodri for them. All of their possession goes through him.
Yeah.
So he is a very good player for them. And yeah, apart from him, I don't really see any PSG player. I think Navas is a sensational goalkeeper. But then Ederson, so if I'm being entirely honest and unbiased, I have to admit that Navas is a better shot stopper than Ederson. But then Ederson is just country miles clear when it comes to footwork and everything. So then that's a whole different debate. But yeah, so I that also concerns me, the fact that Navas is such a good goalkeeper and our finishing is not A1 right now. So that could be if Navas pulls off a couple of blinders.
Is it Marquinhos?
Yeah, Marquinhos is like their Fernandinho, but I think he's out injured. So
okay,
that's good.
Is he? Right. Okay. Well, that's.
I mean, I haven't seen. Yeah, I think he is, because in the last match he wasn't in the lineup and he wasn't even on the bench, and I am 90% sure he's out injured.
Okay.
So that's good for us.
I think it goes without saying they've got players that can hurt us if we're not at our absolute peak. But on the flip side of the coin is we have just as many players that can absolutely kill them when we're on our peak. We just need City to be in the mood. As long as City are in the mood for this game, I'm feeling really positive about it. Do you have a score prediction for me, Neil?
This is tricky. I went 2-1 in all of our last matches, both the Dortmund ones, and I've gotten them right so far. So I'll go 2-1 again. Hope to get it right.
2-1 City, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Addy, what are you thinking, pal? Can you hear us, Addy? No, I think Addy's having sound issues.
Yeah.
No, never mind. Well, I think we're pretty much it. Have you got anything else to add, Neil, before we shoot off?
No, I think that's about it. Let's go and smash PSG.
Yeah.
Are you back with us, Addy? Yeah. Addy, score prediction for Saturday for Wednesday night, pal.
Sorry, I was off, but I have 2-1 City, simply because of our fullbacks, I guess, because our fullbacks are creating chances, and I'd have our fullbacks over PSG's fullbacks any day.
Yeah.
Well, listen, 2-1 would be great for us. 2 away goals. Obviously, we're at PSG. We're away first game, so I'd take 2 goals and I'd rip your arm off for them, to be honest with you. But yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, boys. It's been. Do you know what? I love talking about this. I love City.
Yeah, pleasure.
It makes me so happy. We will speak again very, very, very soon, lads. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.